Right now, your mind may be replaying conversations you wish had gone differently. Or perhaps it is quietly carrying the heavy, invisible burden of all the people who rely on you. Maybe you came here tonight because something deep inside of you is simply tired. Not just physically tired from the waking hours of the day, but emotionally exhausted from holding everything together. For so long, you have been the strong one. You have been the steady ground for others to walk on, the walls that keep the cold out, the voice that says everything will be all right, even when your own heart is quietly trembling. Perhaps your body wants to rest, but your thoughts keep walking through tomorrow, organizing, fixing, and anticipating what needs to be done next. You may be lying there, feeling the familiar hum of an overactive mind, wondering when it will finally be your turn to simply fall apart safely. Maybe you have tried to be strong for so long that even the silence of this room feels unfamiliar, as if letting your guard down is a luxury you cannot afford. If this is where you find yourself tonight, I want you to know that you are deeply understood. You are not alone in this feeling. Let the quiet of this room slowly wrap around you. Notice the dim light, perhaps the soft, pale glow of moonlight tracing its way across the floor or resting gently against the wall. Listen to the distant sounds of the night outside, the faint rustle of wind in the trees, a distant passing car, the quiet, steady rhythm of the world continuing to spin while you finally lie down. The night air outside your window is cool and calm, asking nothing of you. Allow yourself to feel the comforting weight of the blanket over your body. Feel the soft, accepting shape of the pillow rising to meet your head. You do not need to hold yourself up anymore. The mattress beneath you is sturdy and wide, fully capable of carrying your weight. If it feels right, take a slow breath in through your nose, letting the cool air fill your chest. And as you exhale, feel your body softening. Feel the tight muscles in your jaw beginning to loosen. Feel your shoulders, which have been braced as if preparing for a sudden storm, slowly dropping an inch deeper into the bed. You are safe enough to soften. Nothing is required of you now, dear friend. The exhaustion you feel is not a sign that you are failing at life. It is your body's quiet, desperate wisdom, telling you that you were never meant to carry the weight of the world entirely alone. The true paradox of our suffering is this: we exhaust ourselves trying to hold on to the very things that are hurting us, simply because we are afraid of what will happen if we let them go. The mind does not become peaceful because you defeat your worries. It becomes peaceful when you stop treating every fearful thought as a command. And true strength is not found in how long you can hold your heavy armor together, but in your willingness to finally put it down. We mistakenly believe that if we stop controlling, everything will collapse. But true peace, the deep, abiding rest that the Buddha pointed toward, comes from the profound realization that you do not have to hold up the sky. It will stay up all on its own. You are not broken. What you are feeling is not failure. It is simply the ache of a heart that has been working far too hard to protect itself. Tonight we will not try to defeat your pain. We will learn how to hold it differently. Tonight we will not force the mind to be silent. We will simply learn how to stop following every thought down the dark roads of tomorrow. You do not have to solve your whole life tonight. You only have to breathe and listen and allow yourself to be exactly as you are. Maybe you have felt this too, that quiet, lonely ache of being the one who fixes everything, the one who listens but is rarely heard, the one who smiles while feeling incredibly heavy inside. Over time, you have built a powerful identity around this strength. You have convinced yourself that to be loved, to be valued, to be safe, you must be unbreakable. You have become like someone holding a heavy, burning paper lantern in a dark, windy forest. You have spent all your energy pouring oil into this lantern, terrified that if the harsh, artificial light goes out, you will be lost in the dark. You grip the handle so tightly that your hands are blistered and aching. You think this lantern is saving you. But what if the very effort of holding that lantern is what is blinding you to the vast, calming blanket of stars above? What if the strength you are so proud of has secretly become your prison? Tonight, we are going to explore the gentle art of setting the lantern down. We are going to explore the Buddhist wisdom of yielding, of non-attachment, and of releasing the exhausted ego that believes it must control everything to survive. Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop turning your care into suffering. It means you allow yourself the grace to be wonderfully, perfectly human, which means being soft, being tired, and occasionally needing to be carried. As you lie here, listening to the cadence of my voice, let your breathing become a little slower, a little deeper. There is nowhere you need to go. There is no one you need to impress. The emails do not need to be answered tonight. The conversations of the past cannot be rewritten, and the challenges of tomorrow have not yet arrived. The only thing that exists right now is the gentle rise and fall of your chest, the slow, rhythmic tide of your own breath. When a thought about tomorrow enters your mind, do not fight it. Simply notice it, like a leaf drifting across the surface of a quiet pond, and let it float by. You do not need to fish it out. You do not need to analyze it. It is just a thought. It is a visitor, not your identity. Allow your arms to rest heavy by your sides. Notice if your hands are curled into fists, and if they are, gently invite your fingers to uncurl. Let your palms open softly toward the ceiling. In this simple physical gesture, you are sending a profound message to your nervous system. I am putting the burden down. I am no longer gripping the world tightly. It is a brave thing to finally admit that you are tired. It is a deeply spiritual act to surrender the need to be the strongest person in the room. For so long, you have confused endurance with peace. You have thought that if you could just endure a little more stress, manage a little more chaos, take care of a little more of everyone else's pain, then eventually you would earn your rest. But rest is not a reward for enduring suffering. Rest is your natural state, the quiet home you can return to whenever you choose to stop fighting the current. In the teachings of the Zen masters, there is a deep understanding that the willow tree survives the winter storm, not because its wood is hard and unbending, but because it is completely willing to yield to the wind. The rigid oak tree, fighting the gale with all its might, may snap and break under the pressure, but the willow simply bows, lets the wind pass through its branches, and remains perfectly rooted in the earth. You have been trying to be the oak for far too long. You have been standing rigidly against the winds of life, taking every blow, refusing to bend, terrified that bending means breaking. But tonight, you are invited to be the willow. You are invited to soften, to yield, to let the expectations of the world pass straight through you without snagging on your heart. If it feels comfortable, let your eyes sink a little heavier into their sockets. Feel the space between your eyebrows smooth out. Every time you exhale, imagine a physical wave of heavy, warm relaxation washing down from the crown of your head, cascading over your shoulders, pouring down your back, traveling through your legs, and exiting out through the soles of your feet. Let the bed hold you. It is sturdy. It will not drop you. As you settle deeper into this safe, quiet cocoon, let me share a story with you. It is an old story born from the quiet mountains, about a traveler much like you, someone who was deeply exhausted, someone who was carrying a heavy light, and someone who eventually learned the beautiful relief of letting go. Allow the imagery of the story to gently occupy your mind. Do not try to analyze its meaning or solve its riddle. Simply let the words wash over you like a soft, warm rain. Keep breathing slowly. Keep trusting the stillness of the room. We are journeying together now, away from the loud, demanding world and into the quiet sanctuary of your own peaceful heart. Imagine, if you will, a high, winding path carved into the side of a great, silent mountain. The air is cold, biting gently at the edges of a solitary traveler's heavy cloak, It is deep into the night, the kind of profound, enveloping night that feels thick, vast, and endless. The traveler has been walking for days. His legs are trembling with a deep, bone-weary fatigue, and his breath forms small, quiet white clouds in the freezing air. But the heaviest thing he carries is not his woven pack, nor the thick boots upon his feet. It is a large, ornate iron lantern. Inside this lantern burns a fierce, thick yellow flame. The traveler believes this flame is his only protection against the dark forest, his only way to see the treacherous path ahead, his only guarantee of survival. He is terrified of stumbling. He is terrified of what might wait in the unseen shadows. And so he grips the iron ring of the lantern with a hand that is cramped, blistered, and white at the knuckles. Every hour he must stop, his body aching, to carefully pour more precious oil into the basin, terrified that the light might die. He does not look at the sky. He does not feel the quiet majesty of the ancient trees. He only looks at the small, harsh circle of orange light cast upon the stones directly in front of his boots. He is surviving, yes, but he is completely, utterly exhausted. He is carrying the entire burden of his own safety, every single step of the way. Does this traveler feel familiar to you? The tension in his tired shoulders, the desperate grip of his hands, the constant hypervigilance of his mind. This is the exact same armor you have been wearing all day. As the mountain path bends, the traveler sees a faint, soft glow ahead. It is a small, weathered tea house, built directly into the sheltering stone of the mountain cliff. Pushing open the heavy wooden door, the bitter cold wind is immediately replaced by the soothing, radiant warmth of an indoor hearth and the rich, earthy scent of roasted green tea and old cedar wood. The room is incredibly quiet. The only sound is the soft crackle of a small fire and the gentle bubbling of an iron kettle. Sitting perfectly still beside the hearth is an old tea master. The master's eyes are pale and clouded over. He has been completely blind for many years. Yet his posture is relaxed, his breathing is slow and rhythmic, and his movements are perfectly steady. He sits with the profound peace of a man who has nothing left to fight. The traveler steps inside, shivering from the cold, but he does not lower his heavy iron lantern. He stands rigid in the doorway, holding the lantern up high, casting wild, dramatic, flickering shadows against the quiet wooden walls. He finally sits down at a low wooden table, but his right hand remains locked in a death grip around the iron handle. He is inside, he is safe, yet he cannot stop protecting himself. The blind master does not say a word about the intrusion of the harsh, glaring light. He does not judge the traveler's rigid posture. He simply reaches out, his hands moving with quiet, beautiful certainty, and pours a small steaming cup of pale green tea. He slides the warm clay cup across the smooth wood until it rests gently in front of the exhausted traveler. "Drink," the blind master says, his voice as soft as the settling ash in the hearth. "You have been carrying the weight of the world for a very long time." The traveler swallows hard. He reaches for the delicate clay cup with his left hand, but his right arm is shaking violently from the effort of holding the heavy iron lantern aloft. As he tries to bring the cup to his lips, his awkward, unbalanced posture causes the hot tea to spill over his fingers. He curses quietly, his voice breaking with frustration, and sets the cup back down on the table. "I cannot rest," the traveler says, his chest heaving with a sudden, overwhelming wave of emotion. "I must keep this flame alive. I have to watch the door. I have to light the room. If I let this lantern go out, the darkness will swallow me entirely. I am the only one keeping the path lit. If I drop my guard, everything will be lost." The blind master smiles. It is a gentle, warm expression that holds no judgment, only a deep, boundless compassion. He knows the traveler's pain perfectly. He continues to slowly, rhythmically stir the glowing coals in the hearth with a wooden stick. "You are very strong, my friend," the master says quietly. "Your endurance is remarkable. You have kept yourself safe through a very long storm. But tell me, Why do you insist on holding a blazing sun in your aching hand when the sky is already trying to give you the moon? The traveler frowns, entirely confused. He looks at the blind master, and then at his heavy burning lantern. There is no moon. The traveler insists, his voice tight and defensive. It is pitch black outside. The mountain is dangerous and dark. That is why I must hold this light. That is why my hand is bleeding. That is why I cannot sleep. The master stops stirring the coals. He turns his face toward the traveler, resting his hands softly in his lap. You cannot see the moon, the master explains, his voice dropping to a soothing whisper, because your eyes are entirely captured by the harshness of the fire you are gripping so tightly. The lantern you carry is so bright, so fierce, and so close to your face, that it is creating the very shadows you are so afraid of. Your desperate effort to control the light is blinding you to the grace that is already here. The traveler stares at the old man. The words hang in the warm, cedar-scented air. They feel like a small, precise key turning in a very heavy, rusted lock deep inside his chest. His shoulder aches with a dull, throbbing pain. His fingers are numb. He is so incredibly tired of holding the iron ring. He is so tired of being the only source of light. Put it down, the old master whispers gently, just for the length of one breath. Just long enough to drink your tea with 2 hands. The mountain will not fall if you rest. The darkness is not a thief coming to steal your life. The darkness is simply a blanket waiting to help you sleep. Slowly, with a trembling hand, the traveler begins to lower his arm. The muscles in his shoulder protest, having been locked in tension for so long, but he allows gravity to take over. The heavy iron lantern clunks softly against the wooden floorboards. It is the first time in countless days that he has let go of the handle. His fingers are stiff, stuck in a curled defensive position, and he has to gently, slowly massage them open. He lets out a long, heavy exhale, his chest sinking deeply as the immense weight leaves his body. The master leans forward, picking up a small wooden fan, and gently waves it toward the floor. The rush of air catches the lantern, and the harsh, glaring yellow flame is instantly extinguished. For a brief, terrifying second, the traveler panics. He feels plunged into absolute, impenetrable darkness. His instinct is to grab the iron handle, to spark the flint, to immediately rebuild his defenses. But the master simply says, "Wait. Do not fight it. Let your eyes soften." The traveler takes a slow, shaky breath. He breathes in the calming scent of the roasted tea. He blinks into the dark, and slowly, beautifully, the room begins to change. As his tired eyes adjust away from the memory of the glaring fire, he notices the large, open window at the back of the tea house. Flooding through it is massive silver luminous glow. The full moon, vast, serene, and ancient, is hanging in a night sky completely blanketed with millions of quiet, steadfast stars. The silver light pours over the smooth wooden floor, casting a soft, calming glow over the entire room. It illuminates the small clay teacup. It illuminates the blind master's peaceful, smiling face. And as the traveler looks out the window, he sees that it illuminates the entire mountain path outside. The path is not a terrifying abyss of shadows. Under the moonlight, it glows softly like a ribbon of white silk, clearly and safely leading the way down into the peaceful valley. It is a light that requires no oil. It requires no effort. It requires no gripping, no burning, no vigilance. It is simply there, vast and effortless, offering itself freely to anyone willing to put down their own exhausting fire. The traveler realizes, with a profound, rushing wave of relief, that he never had to fight the darkness. He never had to carry the weight of the light all on his own. The world was already illuminated. He just had to step back and let the sky do the work. He reaches out with both hands, steady and unburdened, and picks up his warm cup of tea. As he takes his first slow sip, his shoulders drop completely. The invisible armor shatters and falls away. A single tear of pure, unfiltered relief slides down his cheek, catching the silver moonlight as it falls. In a moment, we will explore what this beautiful, quiet realization means for you. We will gently look at the heavy iron lantern you have been carrying in your own life and discover how perfectly safe it is to finally, completely, let it go. But for now, just breathe. Just rest in the quiet silver light of this room, knowing that the heavy lifting is done. As the image of the quiet tea house slowly settles into your mind, take a gentle, unhurried breath. Notice the feeling of the cool air entering your body and the soft, sinking release as it leaves. Picture the heavy iron lantern resting silently on the wooden floorboards, its harsh yellow fire extinguished. No longer demanding attention, no longer requiring fuel. See the silver moonlight washing over the room, cool and calm, asking absolutely nothing of the traveler who finally sits with empty, resting hands. If it feels right, allow your own hands to rest just a little heavier by your sides. Notice if there is any lingering urge to clench your fingers and gently, with deep compassion, invite them to soften. This ancient story is not just a tale about a mountain and a moon. It is a mirror, reflecting the quiet, hidden architecture of your own daily exhaustion. For a very long time, you have been the traveler. You have been walking through the dense, unpredictable forests of your life, carrying a heavy iron lantern forged from the need to be strong, the need to protect, and the need to fix everything for everyone around you. You have poured your own energy, your own peace, and your own rest into keeping that harsh fire burning, terrified that if you drop your guard, the people you love will stumble in the dark. But Buddhist wisdom offers us a profoundly different way to look at our pain. When the Buddha spoke of human suffering, he was not speaking as a distant philosopher. He was acting as a gentle physician of the heart. He saw that the world will always have its dark mountains. Life will always bring its storms, its uncertainties, and its moments of profound difficulty. This is the first wound, the natural pain of simply being human. We cannot control the mountain path. We cannot stop the cold wind from blowing. But the deep, exhausting ache in the traveler's shoulder, the blistered, cramped fingers locked around the iron handle, the overwhelming panic of trying to keep the small flame alive, that is the second wound. The suffering was not only in the darkness of the forest. The suffering was in the desperate, agonizing way the traveler held on to his own defense against the dark. The suffering was the belief that he had to fight the night all by himself. The Buddha taught that so much of our exhaustion does not come from life itself, but from the way our minds resist life. It comes from the way we add a second wound to the first. When we feel uncertain, we grip the illusion of control. When we feel vulnerable, we build heavy walls of rigid strength. When we fear the future, we exhaust ourselves trying to vividly rehearse every possible disaster, believing that if we worry enough, we can somehow prevent the storm. We call this heavy grip attachment. In modern life, we often misunderstand this word. We think attachment means loving someone or something very deeply. But attachment, in the way the quiet masters understood it, is not love. It is the tight, fearful feeling that says, life must happen my way, or I cannot be okay. It is the heavy iron handle of the lantern. It is the desperate belief that if you are not the one holding everything together, everything will instantly fall apart. When you attach your entire identity to being the strong one, you trap yourself. You leave no room for your own humanity. You leave no room to be tired, no room to be confused, no room to simply collapse into the safety of your own bed without feeling incredibly guilty. Craving, then, becomes the endless, exhausting desire for things to be perfectly managed, perfectly safe, and perfectly resolved by your own hands before you allow yourself to rest. But look at the traveler. He did not find peace by building a better lantern. He did not find peace by forcing the fire to burn brighter, or by walking faster, or by finally conquering the dark. He found peace in the single, terrifying, beautiful moment when he finally unclenched his fingers. This story is not telling us to stop feeling. It is not asking us to become cold or indifferent or to abandon the people we care for. It is showing us something far quieter and far more merciful. It is showing us that you can care deeply without gripping tightly. Letting go is perhaps the most misunderstood teaching of all. We often fear that letting go means giving up, failing, or erasing what matters. But true letting go is simply the physical and emotional release of the extra struggle. It is the profound realization that you do not have to conquer the dark, you only have to let your eyes adjust so you can see the moonlight that is already there to guide you. When you let go of the need to be unbreakable, you do not disappear, you do not become weak. Instead, you become spacious. You become like the calm night sky, vast enough to hold all the stars, all the shadows, and all the quiet passing clouds without ever being damaged by them. Think about the heavy thoughts that have been circling your mind tonight. The tasks left undone, the conversations you cannot rewrite. The worries about tomorrow that feel like heavy stones in your chest. Your mind has been desperately trying to solve them, believing that if you just think about them hard enough, you will find the perfect answer. Your mind is trying to keep the fire burning. But what happens if you stop fighting the thought? What happens if you stop treating every anxious feeling as an urgent command that must be obeyed? This is the gentle art of awareness. Awareness is the quiet space inside you that can notice the pain without becoming the pain. It is the part of you that can watch the mind panic while remaining perfectly still. When you practice awareness, you realize that thoughts are simply events passing through your mind. They are not the absolute truth. They are not the core of who you are. They are just visitors. And you do not have to invite every visitor to sit down at your table. You can look at the fear of tomorrow and say, I see you are trying to protect me. But I do not need to hold you tonight. You can look at the heavy armor of your own strength and say, thank you for keeping me safe for so long. But the war is not happening in this room. I can take you off now. This is where true compassion begins. Compassion is not just something you offer to others who are hurting. It is the profound strength to meet your own suffering, your own exhaustion, and your own perceived failures without turning them into self-hatred. It is looking at your tired, aching heart and offering it the exact same grace you so freely give to everyone else. As you lie here, resting in the quiet of this room, remind yourself of the impermanence of all things. The Buddha pointed toward the beautiful truth that nothing is fixed, no storm lasts forever, no emotion is permanent. The tight grip of anxiety you feel in your chest is not a permanent fixture of your being, it is simply a passing weather pattern. You do not need to fight the weather, you only need to let it pass. You have spent so much of your life believing that peace is a destination you will reach only after you have fixed everything, solved everyone's problems, and organized the future perfectly. You have believed that rest is a reward for flawless endurance. But peace is not the absence of difficulty. Peace is a fundamentally different relationship with difficulty. Peace is the quiet, steady rhythm of your breathing right here in the middle of an unresolved life. Peace is the moon rising over the mountain, completely unbothered by the shadows below. You do not need to earn your rest tonight. The mattress beneath you does not require an explanation of how hard you worked today. The blanket covering you does not ask for proof of your strength. The night air does not judge the thoughts in your mind. The physical world is already holding you perfectly. Slowly, gently, we are going to learn how to let the mind follow the body into that exact same embrace. We are going to gently practice opening the tight fist of the mind. Just as the traveler opened his cramped, blistered hand, in a moment, we will bring this wisdom inward, not to force you to heal instantly, and not to demand that your mind become perfectly blank. We will simply offer your tired mind a softer place to land. But for now, just allow the words you have heard to wash over you. Let them settle wherever they are needed. You are perfectly safe right where you are. Breathe in the cool, quiet air, and let the heavy iron lantern rest on the floor. Bain Muan Lam Gati up. As you rest here, beneath the soft, comforting weight of your blanket, let your attention gently gather around the natural rhythm of your own breathing. There is no need to change the way you are breathing. You do not have to force the air deep into your lungs or count the seconds of your exhale. Just allow your breath to be exactly as it is right now. Perhaps it is a little shallow, or perhaps it is already beginning to slow down. Whatever it is doing, simply let it be. You are just watching it, the way you might watch a quiet stream moving gently over smooth stones. If it feels right, bring your awareness to the physical space you are occupying. Notice the way the pillow supports the back of your head. Feel the broad, steady surface of the mattress rising to meet your shoulders, your back, and your legs. The bed is holding you completely. You do not have to hold yourself up. Let us begin to gently unburden the body, releasing the invisible armor you have been wearing all day. Bring your attention to your jaw. For so many of us, the jaw is where we hold our silent endurance. It is where we lock away the words we cannot say, and where we brace against the demands of the day. If your teeth are resting tightly together, gently part them. Let your lower jaw become heavy and soft. As you do this, you might notice the muscles around your eyes softening as well. The tiny, tense lines across your forehead can simply melt away into the cool night air. Slowly, let this feeling of heavy, warm release travel down your neck and into your shoulders. Imagine that the invisible weights you have been carrying, the expectations of others, the need to be perfect, the desperate urge to fix everything, are simply rolling off your shoulders and dissolving into the darkness. There is no need to force this. If your shoulders still feel a little tight, that is perfectly okay. Even noticing the tension is enough. You are just offering your body a gentle invitation to let go whenever it is ready. Now, bring your attention down your arms all the way to your hands. Notice how your fingers are resting. Are they curled inward as if they are still gripping the handle of that heavy iron lantern? If they are, that is only natural. Your mind has trained your body to hold on tightly for survival. But right now, in this quiet room, you are safe. If you wish, softly open your hands. Let your fingers uncurl completely. Let your palms rest open and vulnerable, facing upward. Feel the air resting softly against your skin. In this simple, quiet posture, you are physically telling your busy mind, I am putting the burden down. I do not need to hold the light right now. As your body continues to sink deeper into the bed, you may notice that your mind is still quite active, even as your hands open. A familiar worry might suddenly drift into your awareness. Perhaps it is a task you did not finish today. Perhaps it is an anxious thought about a conversation you must have tomorrow. Perhaps it is the lingering, heavy feeling that you are somehow falling behind, or that you have failed to keep everything perfectly organized. When this thought arrives, your first instinct might be to fight it. You might feel a sudden urge to push it away, or to tense your body again, or to immediately start mentally solving the problem so the anxiety will stop. But tonight, we are practicing a different way. We are practicing the gentle wisdom of non-resistance. Do not push the thought away, and do not follow it down the dark path of tomorrow. Just let it be seen. Look at it with profound gentleness, as if you are looking at a frightened child who has simply wandered into the room. This thought is not your enemy. It is just your mind's exhausted attempt to protect you. It is your mind believing that if it worries enough, it can keep you safe. Let us name this emotional pattern together. You might silently say to yourself, this is the feeling of needing to control, or this is the feeling of my own exhaustion, or simply, this is my fear of letting people down. By naming it gently without any judgment, you strip away its terrifying power. You step back from being the pain, and you become the quiet, spacious awareness that simply notices the pain. Now I invite you to call upon the image of the traveler's heavy iron lantern. See it clearly in your mind's eye. Notice the dark, cold metal of the handle. See the hot, frantic yellow flame burning inside of it. Imagine that the specific worry or heavy thought you are feeling right now is the oil feeding that fire. It is what keeps the flame burning so fiercely. Feel the immense, tiring weight of that lantern in your hand. Feel how tightly you have had to grip it just to carry it through the day. Acknowledge how hard you have worked to keep that fire alive, believing it was the only thing keeping the darkness at bay. And now, if it feels right, imagine yourself standing in the quiet, cedar-scented tea house. The wooden floorboards beneath you are smooth and steady. The air is warm and perfectly still. Slowly, deliberately, and with profound self-compassion, imagine lowering your arm. Watch as the heavy iron base of the lantern makes contact with the wooden floor. Hear the soft, final thud as the metal rests against the wood. You do not have to carry it anymore. Gently slide your fingers away from the iron ring. Feel the immediate, rushing sense of lightness in your arm, in your shoulder, in your chest. You do not even have to put the fire out yourself. Just by letting go of the handle, the harsh flame begins to dim. Watch it flicker, grow smaller, and softly, quietly fade away into nothing. As the artificial light disappears, notice the immediate shift in the room. You are not left in terrifying darkness. Instead, as the harsh glare fades, the vast, silver light of the moon begins to flood the space. It pours through the window, cool, calm, and infinitely gentle. It washes over the floorboards. It washes over your open, resting hands. It washes over your tired face. This silver light represents the natural peace that is always waiting for you when you stop fighting. It is the steady, unmoving reality that the world is okay, even when you are not managing it. It is the deep Buddhist truth that you are supported by a vast, quiet universe that asks absolutely nothing of you tonight. Rest in this silver light. Feel how effortless it is. You do not have to feed the moon with oil. You do not have to carry it. You do not have to protect it. It is simply there, illuminating the room, asking only that you allow yourself to be bathed in its calm reflection. If your mind suddenly wanders, or if you feel a sudden anxious urge to reach back down and pick the lantern up again, please do not be angry with yourself. This is simply the habit of a mind that has been working too hard for too long. Smile gently at the urge. Acknowledge it. And then, slowly, return your attention to the feeling of the moonlight, to the softness of your open hands, and to the steady, reliable rise and fall of your chest. You can return whenever you are ready. There is no timeline here. There is no right or wrong way to rest. Take a very slow, deep breath in, drawing that cool, silver, peaceful air all the way down into your belly. And as you exhale, let your body sink another inch into the mattress. Let the bed take all your weight. You are perfectly safe. This beautiful, quiet yielding, this setting down of the lantern is the gateway to true inner freedom. But to truly understand how deeply this peace can transform your life, we must look a little closer at the walls we have built around our hearts. We must explore not just the things we carry, but the profound ways we brace ourselves against the wind. In a moment, we will travel further up the mountain. We will encounter another quiet teaching, one that will show us how to stop fighting the storms of life, and how to find true, unshakable safety in the art of remaining open. But for now, just breathe, just exist. Just allow yourself the incredibly rare luxury of doing absolutely nothing. The lantern is on the floor, the moonlight is in the room, and you are, at long last, allowed to simply rest. As you continue to rest in the quiet silver space you have created for yourself, notice how your body feels just a fraction lighter than it did before. The heavy lantern is on the floor. Your hands are open. But the journey of softening does not end simply by putting down what we carry. Sometimes, the deepest exhaustion comes not from what we are holding, but from what we are pushing against. To understand this, we must travel a little further up the mountain, past the quiet tea house, to where the air grows thinner and the ancient pine trees bend completely sideways in the wind. Here, perched on the very edge of a sheer cliff, sits an old grand temple. It is a place of profound silence built entirely of massive dark cedar beams that have stood for hundreds of years. It is the absolute dead of winter. The sky is dark, bruised with heavy clouds, and a brutal howling wind is sweeping through the mountain pass. This is not a gentle breeze, it is a roaring, terrifying force of nature that sounds like 1,000 rushing rivers crashing against the stone. Inside the main hall of the temple stands a young monk. He is deeply devoted, incredibly earnest, and tasked with a responsibility he takes very seriously. He is the guardian of the great hall. At the front of the temple are 2 massive wooden doors, each twice the height of a man, and right now, the winter wind is battering against these doors with terrifying violence. The young monk is terrified that the wind will break the heavy iron latch, burst the doors open, and tear through the sacred, quiet space of the temple. He believes that if the wind gets in, everything beautiful and orderly inside will be destroyed. He feels it is his absolute duty to keep the storm outside, and so he is fighting the wind. He has planted his bare feet firmly on the polished wooden floorboards, pressed his shoulder directly against the center of the heavy doors, and is throwing his entire body weight forward. His muscles are trembling violently under the strain. His face is pale, damp with sweat despite the freezing cold, and his teeth are gritted in a desperate, agonizing grimace. Every time the wind surges, howling against the wood, the monk groans, pushing back with every ounce of strength he has left. His shoulder is deeply bruised. His feet keep slipping backward on the smooth floor, forcing him to scramble frantically to regain his footing. He has been standing there for hours. He is utterly depleted, weeping quietly from the sheer, overwhelming physical and emotional effort of standing as a human shield against a winter storm. He truly believes that if he steps away, even for a single second, the temple will be ruined. He believes his rigid, suffering endurance is the only thing keeping disaster at bay. Does this young monk feel familiar to you? Have you ever stood exactly where he is standing? Not against a physical door, perhaps, but against the storms of your own life. When a crisis hits, when uncertainty rises, or when the heavy expectations of others begin to howl around you, your first instinct is to brace yourself. You rush to the heavy doors of your own heart, press your shoulder against the wood, and push back with all your might. You try to hold the chaos outside. You try to manage every outcome, control every variable, and prevent any disruption from entering your carefully organized world. You tell yourself, I just have to be strong enough. I just have to hold this together until the storm passes. But the storm does not pass quickly, and so you remain there, locked in a state of permanent resistance, exhausting yourself against a force you cannot possibly control. You mistake this agonizing resistance for duty. You mistake this rigid suffering for love. Back in the quiet, shadowed corners of the temple hall, an old nun is watching the young monk. She has lived on this mountain for 80 years. She has seen 100 winter storms, and she knows the deep, unyielding nature of the wind. She moves silently across the polished floorboards, her footsteps making no sound, until she is standing just behind the trembling, exhausted young man. She does not yell over the sound of the howling wind. She does not lecture him or tell him he is foolish. She simply reaches out with a warm, weathered hand and places it very gently on his shaking, bruised shoulder. The young monk gasps, turning his head slightly. "I cannot hold it," he cries out, his voice cracking with despair. "The wind is too strong. The latch is going to break. If I step away, the storm will destroy the hall." The old nun smiles, her eyes crinkling with deep, boundless compassion. "My dear boy," she whispers, her voice remarkably clear beneath the roaring of the storm. "You are fighting the sky. The temple is not fragile, but you are breaking your own bones trying to be a wall." "But I have to protect it," the monk pleads, tears sliding down his freezing cheeks. "I am the guard, then guard it with wisdom, not with violence," the old nun says softly. Slowly, firmly, she steps beside him. She wraps her hands around his trembling arms and gently, but unmistakably, pulls him backward. The monk panics. "No!" he shouts, terrified of what will happen. But his strength is completely gone, and he stumbles backward, away from the heavy doors. The moment his weight is removed, the wind lets out a deafening roar. The massive wooden doors fly open with a violent crash, slamming against the interior walls. The brutal, freezing winter storm rushes into the sacred hall in a chaotic swirl of snow, dead leaves, and biting cold air. The young monk falls to his knees, covering his head with his arms, waiting for the destruction. He waits for the altar to be torn apart. He waits for the walls to collapse. He waits for everything he worked so hard to protect to be completely ruined by the chaos. But as the seconds tick by, nothing collapses. The monk slowly lowers his arms and opens his eyes. He looks around the grand hall. The wind is indeed rushing through the temple, howling wildly as it sweeps across the floorboards. But because the nun had opened the large sliding panels at the very back of the hall earlier that evening, the wind does not become trapped. It simply rushes in through the front doors, swirls through the vast, empty space of the temple, and blows right out the back, disappearing into the dark mountain night. The wind is not destroying the temple, it is simply passing through it. The cedar beams do not splinter. The stone statues do not move. The temple stands perfectly firm, not because it successfully fought the wind, but because it provided a vast, empty space for the storm to move through without resistance. The old nun stands quietly in the rushing wind, her robes fluttering wildly, completely unharmed. She looks down at the young monk kneeling on the floor. "You see," she says gently, "the wind only destroys what refuses to bend. When you stand rigidly against the storm, you take the full force of its violence upon your own shoulders. But when you leave the doors open, the storm has nothing to crash against. It simply enters, and then it leaves." The young monk stares at the open doors. His breathing, which had been ragged and panicked, slowly begins to deepen. He feels the freezing air biting at his skin, but suddenly it is just cold air. It is not an enemy. It is just winter. He does not become magically enlightened in that exact moment. His shoulder still aches deeply from the bruises. He is still shivering from the cold, but a profound, quiet shift happens perfectly within his heart. The desperate, terrifying burden of having to control the storm simply vanishes. He realizes he does not have to be a wall. He slowly pushes himself up from the floor and sits back on his heels. He rests his hands gently in his lap. He does not try to close the doors. He does not try to fight the wind. He simply sits there, breathing quietly, allowing the storm to rush past him, feeling the vast, unshakable spaciousness of the temple around him. He is safe, not because he defeated the danger, but because he stopped resisting reality. This is the beautiful, quiet transformation that awaits you, dear friend. For so long, you have lived your life pressing your entire weight against the heavy doors. When anxiety comes, you try to slam the door shut. When uncertainty howls, you push back with all your might. When the fear of tomorrow surges, you exhaust yourself trying to hold the latch closed, terrified that if you let the feeling in, it will destroy you. But what if the things you are so afraid of, the anxiety, the uncertainty, the overwhelming emotions, are just like the winter wind? What if they only cause you agonizing pain because you are standing rigidly against them? What would happen if, just for tonight, you stopped fighting the wind? What if you allowed yourself to be like the vast, spacious temple? When an anxious thought arrives, you do not have to throw your body against the door to keep it out. You can simply say, "I feel you." You may enter, and because you are not trapping it, because you are not fighting it, the thought will simply sweep through the vast, quiet space of your awareness, and eventually, it will blow right out the back door. You are so much larger, so much more spacious than the passing storms of your mind. As you lie here, listening to the quiet sounds of the night, see if you can gently practice stepping away from the heavy doors. When a tense thought arises, notice your instinct to brace against it. Feel the subtle tightening in your chest or your stomach, and then intentionally, lovingly soften those muscles. Imagine yourself taking a slow step backward. Let the thought rush in, let it swirl around, and watch as it naturally, inevitably leaves. You do not need to be a wall tonight, you are allowed to be empty space. In a moment, we will look even deeper into this profound psychological truth. We will explore exactly why your mind is so convinced it must fight the wind, and how Buddhist wisdom offers a gentle, practical way to finally rest in the center of the storm. But for now, just breathe. Feel the cold air passing by. Feel the sturdy floor beneath you. Know that the temple of your own heart is perfectly safe, precisely because you are finally letting the doors swing open. As the image of the vast, open temple slowly settles into your mind, take a gentle, unhurried breath. Notice how the simple idea of not fighting feels within your own body. For a mind that is used to constant warfare, the concept of leaving the doors open can feel incredibly foreign, perhaps even a little dangerous at first. You might be wondering how you could possibly survive if you stopped bracing yourself against the world. To understand why your mind is so terrified of letting go, we must look at the quiet, invisible architecture of your own suffering. We must look at the heavy doors you have built, and the reasons you felt you had to build them in the first place. From a very young age, we are taught to fear uncertainty. We are taught that the unknown is a dark forest full of danger, and that our only defense is to prepare, to manage, and to control. Over the years, this desire for safety hardens into a rigid psychological armor. You began to believe that if you could just anticipate every possible problem, you could prevent yourself from being hurt. This is why, late at night, when the house is finally quiet and your body is begging for rest, your mind suddenly begins to rehearse the future. It plays out endless scenarios, imagining conversations that have not happened, preparing defenses for conflicts that do not exist, and trying to perfectly map out a tomorrow that is entirely unwritten. You are trying to control the wind before it even begins to blow. And when your mind is not rushing into the future, it is often dragged backward, replaying the past. You sift through old memories, analyzing mistakes, wishing you had spoken differently, wishing you had been smarter, better, or stronger. You do this because a part of you believes that if you just understand the past perfectly, you can somehow fix it, or at least guarantee you will never feel that specific pain again. But this constant mental time travel is exhausting. It pulls you entirely out of the only place where peace actually exists. This very moment, right here, lying in this bed, breathing this cool night air. The deepest exhaustion you carry does not come from the things you have to do tomorrow. It comes from the heavy, suffocating illusion that you must control how everything unfolds. We confuse control with safety. We believe that if we are the one holding the lantern, if we are the one pushing against the door, then we are safe. We build an entire identity around this. We become the strong one, the one who does not need help, the one who fixes everyone else's problems, the one who desperately needs the approval of others to feel worthy of existing. Over time, this strength becomes a prison. You turn your own endurance into your identity. You begin to believe, deep down, that you are only lovable as long as you are useful, as long as you are unbreakable. But Buddhist wisdom offers a profoundly gentle correction to this exhausting way of living. The Buddha observed that as human beings, we are constantly pierced by what he called two arrows. We can think of these as two distinct kinds of pain. The first pain is the inevitable reality of life. It is the winter wind. It is the sudden storm, the physical illness, the loss of a relationship, the unexpected change in circumstances, or the natural grief of moving through time. We cannot avoid the first pain. No amount of worry, no amount of planning, and no amount of rigid strength can stop the winter wind from blowing. It is simply the nature of a world where everything is impermanent. But the Buddha noticed something tragic about the human condition. When the first pain strikes, we immediately, unconsciously, shoot a second arrow into our own hearts. The second pain is what the mind adds to the first. It is the resistance. It is the desperate attempt to push the door shut. When you feel a natural flutter of anxiety, the first pain, your mind immediately panics and says, "I should not be anxious. What is wrong with me? If I do not stop this anxiety right now, it will ruin tomorrow." That judgment, that panic, that self-criticism, that is the second pain. When you make a mistake, the natural consequence of that mistake is the first pain. But the days and weeks you spend punishing yourself, calling yourself foolish, and trying to fix your self-worth through shame, that is the second pain. You are bruising your own shoulder against a door you do not need to be pushing. You have been taught that if you judge yourself harshly enough, you will eventually become a better person. You have believed that shame is a necessary tool for growth, but shame has never healed a single human heart. Self-judgment does not make you stronger, it only makes you heavier. It is the extra oil poured into a lantern that does not need to be lit. Consider the profound relief in realizing that almost all of your current exhaustion comes from the second pain. You are not tired because life is happening. You are tired because of the way your mind is resisting what is happening. You do not have to fight your own mind. When a wave of sadness or fear arises in the quiet of this room, you do not need to immediately understand it, fix it, or force it to disappear. You can simply let it be there. You can be like the vast, spacious temple hall. You can say to the feeling, "I see you," you are allowed to pass through. This is the beautiful, quiet secret of true inner peace. We spend our whole lives waiting for a day when the ocean will be perfectly flat, a day when the wind will stop blowing, a day when we will finally have no problems left to solve. We think peace is the absolute absence of difficulty. But peace is not the absence of difficulty. Peace is a fundamentally different relationship with difficulty. Peace is knowing that the storm is happening, but refusing to let the storm become your identity. It is the profound realization that you are not your anxious thoughts, you are not your past mistakes. You are not the heavy expectations that other people have placed upon your shoulders. You are the quiet, spacious awareness that observes all of these things passing through. If you try to stop a river by standing in the middle of it and pushing against the water with your hands, you will drown in exhaustion. The water will always win. But if you step back and sit quietly on the riverbank, the river is no longer your enemy. It is just water, flowing as it always has. You can watch it move, you can listen to its sound, but you do not have to carry it. Right now, in the safety of this room, I invite you to step out of the river. If there is a thought about tomorrow that is pulling at your attention, gently recognize that it is just water rushing by. You do not need to jump in and wrestle with it. Just let it flow. If there is a heavy feeling of self-doubt or a lingering sense that you have not done enough today, recognize it as the winter wind. It is just a sensation. It is cold, perhaps, but it cannot actually harm you unless you brace yourself against it. Let your chest soften. Let your belly relax. Allow the feeling to enter, swirl around for a moment, and naturally exit. Notice how, when you stop trying to fix yourself, a deep, natural sense of wholeness begins to emerge. You do not need to be repaired, because you were never broken. You were only covered up by layers of exhaustion, fear, and the desperate, heartbreaking effort to be perfect. Underneath all that heavy armor, beneath the gripped lantern and the bruised shoulder, there is a version of you that is incredibly soft, naturally wise, and completely at rest. This part of you does not need to earn love through endless labor. This part of you is perfectly worthy of peace simply because you exist. As you breathe in, feel the cool air returning you to this profound, unshakable truth. And as you breathe out, release one more heavy expectation you have been carrying. You do not have to be the strong one tonight. The universe is entirely capable of holding itself together while you sleep. In a moment, we will explore what this beautiful realization looks like when the sun comes up. We will look at how to walk through your daily life, your work, your relationships, your ordinary moments, without picking the heavy lantern back up. We will gently uncover how to care for the world without letting it crush you. But for now, remain in this quiet, spacious emptiness. Feel the deep comfort of a mind that has finally stopped fighting itself. As you rest here, fully supported by the quiet of the night, feeling the deep comfort of a mind that has finally stopped fighting itself, you might gently wonder about tomorrow. You might wonder what will happen when the sun comes up, when the silence of this room is replaced by the busy, demanding noise of the waking world. The modern world is loud. It asks for your attention constantly. And it is so incredibly easy, when faced with the pressures of the day, to instinctively reach down and pick that heavy iron lantern right back up. But tomorrow can be different. The profound peace you are touching right now is not something that only exists in the dark. It is not a fragile thing that shatters when your alarm rings. Peace is simply practiced in small moments. It is a quiet, continuous choice to leave the heavy temple doors open, even when the winds of daily life begin to blow. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. Before your feet even touch the floor, your mind may habitually rush toward the tasks of the day. You might feel the familiar urge to immediately reach for your phone, to check for reassurance, to read the news, or to anxiously wait for a text message that will dictate how you feel about yourself. In that brief, ordinary moment, you might notice the old habit rising, the tightening of the chest, the need to control the connection, the fear of uncertainty. When that happens, simply pause. A breath before answering is a form of wisdom. You do not have to absorb the world's urgency. You can look at the phone, recognize the small flutter of anxiety, and say to yourself, "This is just the wind. I do not need to brace against it." You can let the expectation pass through you. You do not have to pour your precious energy into the lantern of hypervigilance. You can simply take a slow, deep breath, feel the ground beneath your feet, and begin your day at your own gentle pace. As you move through your morning, perhaps you will find yourself in those familiar spaces where you are used to pretending to be okay. Maybe you will walk into your workplace or sit down with your family, feeling the heavy pressure to smile while feeling incredibly heavy inside. For so long, you have believed that you must hide your exhaustion to be valuable. You have believed that if you show any crack in your armor, you will let everyone down. But remember the young monk in the temple. You do not have to be a rigid wall. You can participate in your life without putting on the heavy armor. You can listen to a friend, or care for a loved one, or complete your tasks without absorbing their anxiety as your own. You can care deeply without gripping tightly. If someone is upset, you can offer them kindness, but you do not have to fix their emotional state before you are allowed to be at peace. You can let their storm blow through the open doors of your awareness. If a situation at work becomes chaotic, you do not have to throw your body against the door to stop the chaos. You can do what is required of you, softly and steadily, while remaining perfectly spacious inside. Not every problem is an emergency that requires your immediate exhausting intervention. Perhaps later in the day, your mind will try to drag you into the past. You might find yourself replaying a mistake you made yesterday, or a conversation from years ago, punishing yourself with the memory. You might feel the sharp, familiar sting of comparing yourself to others, looking at where they are and feeling the deep, aching fear that you are somehow falling behind in life. You might feel a heavy wave of not being enough, a quiet shame whispering that you should have done more, achieved more, or been more by now. When this happens, remember the two arrows. The feeling of being behind is just the first arrow. It is a passing illusion created by a society that values speed over depth. But the self-hatred, the endless rumination, the desperate attempt to punish yourself into being better, that is the second arrow. You can simply stop firing it. When the thought arises that you are not enough, you do not have to debate it. You do not have to prove it wrong. Not every thought deserves obedience. Not every feeling is a command. You can simply observe the thought, the way you would observe a dark cloud passing across a vast silver moon. You can say to it, "I see you trying to protect me by keeping me small, but I do not need your protection today. You are exactly where you need to be." The timeline you have built in your mind is just a story, and you are allowed to gently set that story down. Think about the relationships in your life where you have tried so hard to control the outcome. We often try to control the people we love because we are terrified of losing them. We try to manage their feelings, anticipate their needs, and perfectly choreograph the future so we never have to face the pain of uncertainty. But this desperate control is just another heavy lantern. It burns your hands and blinds you to the beauty of the person standing right in front of you. To love someone truly, in the Buddhist sense, is to love them with open hands. It is to say, "I love you, and I allow you to be exactly as you are. I do not need to control you to feel safe." When you stop trying to control your relationships, you will find that a profound, quiet grace enters them. The fear of the future dissolves, replaced by the simple, beautiful reality of sharing this exact moment together. And finally, think of what happens when the day ends, and you return to your quiet room, wanting rest but feeling deeply guilty for resting. How many times have you lay awake at night, just as you did before we began this journey, going over a mental ledger of everything you accomplished, trying to calculate if you did enough to earn the right to sleep? How many times have you felt that resting is a sign of weakness, a failure of your strength? This is the ultimate illusion of the exhausted heart. You do not have to earn your rest. Rest is not a prize given only to those who have flawlessly completed every task on an infinite list. The list will never be finished, because life is never finished. Rest is your natural right. It is the quiet sanctuary where you are meant to return every single night to be restored. You can rest without earning it. You can be tired, unfinished, and imperfect, and still be entirely worthy of peace. Let this truth sink deeply into your body right now. Feel the weight of it settling into your muscles. You do not need to be strong anymore today. You do not need to be the fixer, the guard, or the light. The world is carrying itself tonight. As you lie here, noticing the slow, easy rhythm of your breath, realize that the profound transformation you have been seeking is already happening. It is not happening with a loud crash or a dramatic revelation. It is happening in the quiet, gentle unclenching of your jaw. It is happening in the softening of your hands. It is happening in the beautiful, silent permission you have finally given yourself to simply be exactly as you are. Every time you choose not to fight a thought, you are practicing peace. Every time you choose to leave the heavy door open, you are walking the path of wisdom. Every time you forgive yourself for being human, you are stepping out of the dark forest and into the vast, silver light of your own true nature. You have done beautifully tonight. You have bravely looked at the heavy armor you were carrying, and you have had the immense courage to set it down. In a moment, we will let all of these words, all of these teachings, and all of these gentle reflections dissolve entirely. We will leave the day completely behind and drift together into the deep, profound stillness of the night. There is nothing left to learn. There is nothing left to fix. There is only the sweet, heavy embrace of true, unbroken sleep. Pa Muan Lam Gatiap. As the night deepens around you, let the busy world of tomorrow completely fade away. You have bravely looked at the heavy lantern you were carrying. You have felt the winter wind, and you have learned how to leave the heavy doors open. The work of the mind is finished now. There is absolutely nothing left for you to solve, nothing left for you to fix, and nothing left for you to protect. It is simply time to rest. Notice how the silence in your room feels a little softer now. It is no longer an empty space, waiting to be filled with anxious thoughts or worried plans. It is a warm, thick, comforting blanket, wrapping gently around you. Listen to the steady, quiet rhythm of your own breathing. It has slowed down. It has found its own natural, peaceful cadence, rising and falling without any effort, like the gentle tide of a calm, dark ocean. With every exhale, allow your body to become incredibly heavy. Imagine that beautiful silver moonlight we spoke of earlier, spilling softly through your window. It pools on the floor, calm and steady, and gently washes over your bed. It brings with it a profound, cooling peace. Feel this gentle light touching your forehead. As it does, the last tiny threads of tension around your eyes completely dissolve. Your eyelids become comfortably heavy, so heavy that you could not open them even if you tried. They are perfectly sealed in rest. Feel the silver light wash over your face, down your cheeks, and into your jaw. If there is even a fraction of resistance left there, let it melt away. Your jaw falls completely slack. The words you did not say today, the defenses you had to build, the smiles you had to force, they all drain away into the pillow beneath you. You do not have to hold your expression together anymore. The dark does not require a face. It only requires your peace. Let this heavy, warm relaxation pour down your neck and cascade over your shoulders. Your shoulders have carried the weight of the world for so long. They have been the sturdy beams holding up the roof of your life, bracing against every storm. But tonight the storm has passed. The temple is quiet. Let your shoulders drop entirely. Let them sink so deeply into the mattress that you can no longer tell where your body ends and the bed begins. You are entirely supported. Feel the softness traveling down your arms, flowing past your elbows, through your wrists, and pooling in your open hands. Your fingers are soft, resting quietly against the blankets. The heavy iron lantern is gone. You are holding nothing. You are grasping at nothing. Your hands are beautifully, perfectly empty. Let the weight of this deep surrender travel down your spine, uncoiling any lingering tightness in your back. Let it wash through your chest, bringing a feeling of vast, uncrowded space to your heart. Let it flow down through your hips, your legs, your knees, all the way down to the soles of your tired feet. Your entire body is now anchored to the earth, heavy, warm, and profoundly safe. You do not even need to hold on to the words we have shared tonight. You do not need to memorize these teachings or turn them into another task to master tomorrow. Let the stories of the old tea master, the glowing moon, and the open temple doors gently dissolve into the quiet atmosphere of the room. They have already bypassed your busy mind. They have already settled deeply into the quiet, knowing center of your heart. Your inner wisdom will remember them for you. You can let the words drift away, like small paper boats floating gently down a dark, quiet river, disappearing into the mist. Tonight, you are giving yourself the ultimate permission to simply be. You are releasing the exhaustion of pretending to be strong. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to be unfinished. You are allowed to be beautifully, perfectly human. The world will continue to spin while you sleep. The stars will continue to hold their place in the vast night sky. The trees will quietly breathe outside your window. The universe is endlessly capable of carrying itself. It does not need you to hold it together tonight. If a stray thought wanders into your mind now, do not even greet it. Just let it pass through the vast, empty hall of your awareness. The doors are open, the wind blows in and the wind blows out. You remain untouched in the center, resting in the pure, silent space of your own being. You are returning home. For so long, you looked for home in the approval of others. You looked for home in the perfection of your work. You looked for home in the desperate attempt to control the future. But home was never out there in the loud, demanding world. Home was always right here. It is this quiet, steady awareness beneath your thoughts. It is the part of you that has never been broken, never been behind, and never been unworthy. It is the soft, breathing stillness in the center of your chest. You are safe here. You are deeply understood. You are entirely forgiven for the things you could not carry, and you are deeply loved for the things you did. There is nowhere else to go. There is nothing else to do. Breathe in the cool night air, and know that you are whole. Breathe out, and let the darkness hold you close. Drift now. Sink deeper into the heavy, welcoming embrace of the mattress. Let the boundaries of the day blur and fade into the soft, comforting shadows. The lantern is unlit. The moonlight is your blanket. The mountain is silent. And as you finally surrender the last of your weary armor to the night, gently ask yourself, what if the true strength you have been searching for all this time was never about holding on, but simply trusting the dark enough to finally close your eyes?